Everybody's favorite cartoon character, Mickey Mouse, is turning 90. And to celebrate this, New York is hosting its inaugural Mickey, the True Original exhibition.
Get ready to step back in time to the creation of the world's most iconic cartoon character. The exhibition features hall upon hall of Mickey Mouse artwork. Exhibition curator Darren Romanelli says several artists joined forces to pull off the mammoth task.
First and foremost, we wanted to celebrate the 90 years of Mickey's history, so we worked closely with Disney Archives and really pulled highlight moments from the archives and created these stories, these different rooms, these moments throughout the 16,000 square foot exhibition. But in each room, there's either a single or multiple contemporary artists who created site-specific, reinterpreted Mickey Mouse installations. And it's that dialogue between the archives and the contemporary works that creates a unique energy for our visitors to experience and hopefully take away with them.
The exhibit features artwork created when Walt Disney first put pen to paper with co-creator Ub Iwerks.
We wanted to tell Mickey's story from beginning to end and focus on the different things in his life that are the most relevant today, but also things that people might not know so much about. So we started with the early Mickey cartoons in the 30s and worked our way all the way up to the present day and to these wonderful modern artists who are creating Mickey still.
The characters won numerous awards and was the first cartoon to earn a star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame. Mickey Mouse's appeal spans several generations, with no sign of interest dying down.
We all face our fair share of disappointments before success. Well, Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse is a household name the world over. But reaching this level of success was no walk in the park. At the age of 22, Walt Disney was fired from a Missouri newspaper for not being creative enough. He started his first animation company in 1921, which filed for bankruptcy 2 years later. And when he tried to get Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios to distribute Mickey Mouse in 1927, he was told the idea would never work. He was told a giant mouse on screen would terrify women. But Walt Disney held steadfast to his ideas. In 1928, Mickey Mouse was born and debuted on Steamboat Willie, an American animated short film. And 50 years later, Mickey Mouse receives his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Walt Disney went on to be nominated for 59 Academy Awards, winning 32, all for his unparalleled animations. He still holds the record for the most Oscars won by an individual, according to WaltDisney.com. How many times did you file for bankruptcy, or how many times was your big idea rejected? To talk more about perseverance and its rewards, we're now joined by Momtaneer and business coach Deshaun Daisel from Deshaun Daisel and Associates. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, disappointment is something that we all face. It's unavoidable. But these days, it seems to me that failure is so much more public because of social media and the digital world that we live in. So a lot of people, I think, struggle to sort of regain their composure or move on past those failures and accept that failure is part of success.
Yeah, you know, it's quite coincidental that just a week ago I was actually watching the movie Walt Before Mickey, and I thought, it is so amazing that by the time someone becomes a household name, it looks like their success was instant. But as you said in the introduction, I mean, the amount of failure, disappointment at one stage, according to the movie, actually slept on the street because he had nowhere to go. He'd lost everything. And I think it is so poignant that today you can see failure so much more publicly. And I'm not sure if that has a terrible effect on society as a whole, but I think the thing that we get from stories like Walt Disney's and the story of Mickey turning 90 today is that at the beginning of any journey, if it's a very big, very sort of hairy, scary, audacious type of journey, then you can expect some failure. You know, I mean, especially in the journey of entrepreneurship. I think so many entrepreneurs see the Richard Bransons, the Walt Disneys, the Oprah Winfreys, the Steve Jobses, but they don't realize that it took 20 years for those people to become a household name, and that quite likely the first 10 years were just sheer difficulty, disappointment, failure, failure, setback after setback. And I think the thing that really is about, the key thing about perseverance is really resilience.
Do our children learn perseverance? Because we live in an instant culture. I mean, you can get anything you want at the snap of a finger.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I think a key emotional tool in terms of building perseverance is actually to have a sense of delayed gratification. And we live in such an instant gratification world, don't we? But I think one of the things I enjoy doing with people in my work as a coach and so on is that I like to give people techniques. So one of the techniques I think is so vital when it comes to building perseverance is actually knowing how to build resilience first, because resilience is being able to get up every single time you've been knocked down, and perseverance is to do that over a long period of time. So I always say this to people: if you want to build toughness, if you want to build grit, resilience in your system, is literally to write down things that you've overcome that were really tough for you, things that you got knocked down with, but somehow you managed to get yourself out of it, and then to remember what you actually did to get out of that situation, because it's the action that really reminds you of how strong and tough you are. So the more one does that, the less and less failure becomes this incredible thing that becomes so insurmountable in life.
How do we keep focus? Because that's the other thing, is overcoming a stumbling block or a failure is one thing in itself, but to hold on to that one idea that you believe in so passionately, despite the judgment, and let's face it, today, because of social media, everyone is a judge. You're allowed to critique everyone, and everyone's opinion has to matter. So how do you stay true to something that everyone is telling you is bound to fail?
That is a tough one, and I think, for me, it really is about authentically knowing what you want to do. It's one thing to see what everyone else is doing and then setting your goals according to what another person is succeeding in, but if you are authentic with yourself, you'll probably recognize that the thing you're setting a goal in is not for you. And so in my line of coaching, what I've noticed is that people who really have a strong vision connected to a strong sense of purpose are more likely to overcome tough stuff. So if you've got a talent that's related to all of that, you take your talent, you build it. This is what I call peak performance. Peak performance is really about having high aspirations, putting a sense of purpose behind it, and keep cultivating your talent through building knowledge and skill and gaining experience in that area. And so when the knockdowns come, you know why you're doing what you're doing, and it's not easier to overcome, but you have more impetus to overcome.
Yes. And the question of identity, because that plays so strongly into being authentic and being true to yourself and your passions and knowing what your talents are and what is the right direction for you. Do we have a sort of a jaded or a fickle sense of identity these days, with people literally via selfies and Instagram being able to change your identity to meet mass appeal?
Look, we can all be whatever we want to be on social media, isn't it true? So it is a real dilemma of our time that we present one type of person to the world, but there's really another type of person living everyday life. And some studies have actually shown that there are higher levels of depression and even suicide from people presenting themselves inauthentically on social media. So this really is a dilemma of our time. So my best advice to people is really, if you want to build resilience, perseverance, and get to your goal, get your Mickey to turn 90, as it were, it is about being authentic. It's about being true to who you are and to discover those things that give you a sense of value and purpose in life. No one can give you that, and you can't buy it, unfortunately. So eventually, when you do position yourself on social media, it is the authentic you, not just the person who looks good through all the filters. And, so the more we try to do things for others in terms of looking good and appearing successful, the emptier we become inside. It's a very strange thing about our internal being, but your internal knows when you are being inauthentic and lying to yourself. So the best advice I can give is just find the best you and then live that.
Yeah. And obviously people also react to authenticity. People are very quick to know that, what you're presenting to me is a facade. And people want to help people who are true and who have a discernible passion
Yes.
that can be assisted.
What I have found is when people start embarking on a journey of authenticity, it's quite hard at first because we were also raised to please everyone around us. And sometimes people want to be pleased in areas that you're not really either competent or confident in, but you're trying hard enough, and, you know, teacher gives you a star because you tried. So we do live in a time where everyone, because of also social media's gaze, everyone wants to put their best foot forward. So when you really start on a journey on authenticity, like Walt Disney did all those years ago, it's really tough because it can look weird to others. It can look strange because they don't understand what they're seeing, and they're trying to criticize, judge, fix because society says so. And that's the toughest part of the lifelong journey of perseverance. The more you become your true self, the easier it becomes to relate to others, but you've got to go through that initial toughness of discovering who your true self actually is.
And luckily we have people like you to help us identify the road markers along the way, to say life is telling you you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, thanks very much for your time. That was